Hey, it's New Year, New Movies up next on Geek Out SA. Do not attempt to adjust your YouTube video. We control the stream. And welcome back to Geek Out SA. It's Friday and we're having fun.
We've been away from it so long, I don't think we remember how to do it.
For very long.
Struggled a little bit with that intro there. I was trying not to laugh.
Same.
I was like, do you know what you're doing anymore? No, forgot. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Well, you've been sick and broken, so that's kind of a thing. Yeah.
I mean, we took off for like Christmas and New Year's, but
we
I
always
just happened
do.
to be sick during Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah. I mean, we always try to take off for the holidays. Normally we would do, like last Friday, we would have done a show, but Vincent has not been well. And before you think COVID, no.
He just
Vincent and I are both allergic to mountain cedar, so we both had some problems with cedar fever. And
it's something I've only developed in like the last 5 years.
I've had it my whole life.
I haven't had it the entire
Yeah, he
time.
hasn't had it. I don't know if he contracted it from me. I didn't realize cedar fever was contagious. I thought it was a rite of passage in San Antonio. So, but
right.
yeah, so he gets sick lately during this time. And then he threw his back out. So,
yeah.
Fun times. It did get him out of, conveniently, helping our youngest son move again.
Oh, now it's making sense.
Just saying.
Hey, Steve. He says, hey, guys, happy Friday. Hey, happy Friday.
We will admit that we were kind of planning on doing a show like a little bit before Christmas time. And we kind of bailed on all of y'all to go see Spiderman because we got tickets at the last minute.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you all know where you rank.
Below Spider-Man, which is where
below
everything
Spider-Man,
should
where
be.
everybody should rank.
That's where
right?
it should be. Yeah. So we're talking about new movies. So since we were last with you, we saw 2 movies. We saw Spider-Man No Way Home. And then we also saw The Matrix.
Revelations, right? Or I don't remember the name of it.
It's Resurrections.
Resurrection?
We'll go with that. Yeah, Resurrections.
Yep.
Resurrections.
I was like,
Resurrections, yeah. So which one are we going to start with today?
Let's start with The Matrix.
Okay.
Even though we saw that second.
Well, so I think people need some background information about The Matrix before we talk about The Matrix, if that makes sense. Because Vincent got The Matrix tickets for his Christmas present.
Yeah.
So people might be like,
So my son got them for me. So
that's
that was
like
really cool.
a weird Christmas present, right? But Vincent, tell him the story of like who gave them to you and why.
So it was my youngest, Nicholas, gave me my my tickets. So he bought like 5 tickets. So it was me, Colleen, Nicholas, his girlfriend, and Zach, the middle. So when we were younger, when we're all younger, when the kids were actually kids, we would actually watch all 3 of these movies like in a row. We would have like marathons.
Not willingly. It was like a forced march, death march of Matrix
They
marathons.
liked it.
No, I'm just kidding. We all liked it.
it.
It was something that Vincent really, really enjoyed, and so he kind of started it. And I think we've had the Matrix marathon 4 times, maybe? What do you think?
With
4?
everybody, yeah.
Yeah, with everybody.
With everybody.
So it was definitely a childhood staple. Vincent is a real tech head, so he really enjoyed the Matrix movies, and the whole thought of like being inside of a computer program like really spoke to him. And as we watched them, they like really grew on all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So we really enjoyed them. Sorry.
That's how excited
First week
she
back,
was.
sorry. First week back to teaching. It's been a little exhausting.
Well, it was also exhausting because she was taking care of me the entire time.
I haven't had much of a break.
I was
COVID
bad.
has made it so almost 2,000 teachers are out across the district. So we've been subbing for other teachers and doing stuff during our break. So I'm very sorry. I'm very tired. But anyways, So we have this whole Matrix tradition. So it's been a whole thing in our family. Like, we've watched all 3 of the movies. Like, they say Matrix lines. So the youngest one gets tickets. And we're really pretty super excited to go see this movie, right? Because we waited for a long time because everybody thought that just can't be the end of Neo's story. But Vincent and I thought it was going to go quite a different way.
Quite a different way than it actually went.
After Vincent told me what his theory was a while ago, I thought, that's perfect. They've got to do that. So, do you want to tell them before you tell them how bad the movie was, or after you tell them how bad the movie?
By the way, Steve says it's not a movie, it's a documentary.
It's a documentary of what? Of how not to make a movie?
I was about to say that. How to waste 8 hours.
What it is like now.
No, I love the first 3. I know other people didn't like them, but I loved the first 3. And maybe it's because we watched it so much and it's like a staple in our household, but I really liked them. I enjoyed
was it
them.
As good as the first one? Or no?
2 was really good.
2 was good, but was it as good as the first one? No.
It was good.
But it wasn't as good as the original, the first one.
3 just kind of like went off the rails for me a little bit. And the way you explained it to me made 3 better for me if they had made 4 the way you thought they should have made 4. And that made no sense to everybody, so let me explain. So the thing that always upset me about 3 is when Neo is blinded, he can see Agent Smith and he can see all this code and this light and stuff in the machine city. That never made any sense to me. Like, why is that happening? That doesn't make any sense. So Vincent was like, it's a second level of the Matrix. Like, they're in a Matrix within the Matrix. And I was like, oh, shut up. Yes.
So when they're out and then Zion, they're still in the Matrix.
Part of the Matrix. And I was like...
And I actually did some research today, and I found out that they kind of had that planned for one of the endings of 3. That they were going to kind of do that, but they didn't.
I wish they would have gone with that, because I feel like that would have tidied up the story really well, right?
But they went on a completely different direction.
And at first I was on board, right? When we first started watching The Matrix and like Neo's going to therapy, and you know, right, as the outsider looking in, you know that therapy is a ruse. You know they're trying to confuse his mind and make him believe that the Matrix is just in his head and that he's a crazy person. He keeps taking the blue pill. Like, they're giving us some good stuff, right, at the beginning. So you're like, I'm down. This is good. I'm okay. I'm like sucked in. I'm like, okay, right? They're keeping Neo down. That's what they should be doing, right? Although why he's alive, you're like, well, maybe they just felt for him, you know? The machines kind of have a heart in a way, because machines become sentient in our minds. They have emotions like us and stuff. So that's why we're nice to Alexa and tell her thank you and stuff, just in case. But so I'm down for it, right? At the beginning, you're like, I'm down for it. And you're going along, and then he's like talking to Trinity, and her name is Tiffany, which is gross. And I love that she hated it too. And they're like reconnecting, and you're like, okay. And you're kind of like, but why is she there? Because she's totally dead. I mean, she had like bars through her and stuff, right? But you're thinking, but if they were in a second level of the Matrix, of course she's still alive, because her body was never dead, right?
So we saw in 3 where he would go through and he was in the Matrix, but his body wasn't connected to the Matrix. So he was still existing with there. They had to bring him back from the Matrix and put him back in his body. Which that shouldn't be a thing that should happen.
Right. And so I just don't think they ever really like tied everything up together. And I know, or I feel like, because the director or producer, I always forget like which is which, that's transgender, that's a female now.
Oh, the
Wachowskis or whatever.
Sisters now?
Sisters now.
Okay.
We used to be brothers.
Well, I thought there's only one of them, because one of them
only
passed
one
away.
returned.
Well, only one of them.
Oh, did the other one die?
I thought
Oh, I didn't know the other one had passed away. I
I
just
didn't know
knew that
that.
only one of them worked on this movie. But and I understand that she was trying to do the whole girl power thing. But again, as a girl, me, I think there are good ways to do girl power. And then there's like, I've departed from the story so much that girl power just seems like I'm trying to make a point. And so that's what I ended up with in this movie. I ended up with what could have been a good story and could have brought Trinity, because Trinity was always strong. It was never that Trinity wasn't strong.
Right.
Like, she was the backbone, right? She was strong. But then by trying to make it a statement, for me, it didn't work. I don't know. What did you think, Vincent?
I mean, Neo was supposed to be the one.
Now we have the two.
Now we have the
And
two.
now we have the two.
Hated that.
And that part didn't make sense. Well, it made sense to me of why it was done, but it didn't make sense in
like the vein of the story arc,
Right.
right? Exactly.
it
Like-
just kind of removed the specialness of what Neo was.
Right, like we all get it, right? Harry Potter is the one. Luke Skywalker is the one. Yes, do they have Princess Leia and Hermione?
Anakin
Do they
Skywalker
have-
was the one.
Oh, well, Anakin was the one.
He lost limbs. He doesn't count.
He
anymore.
doesn't really count. Luke is the one. Grogu's the one. But do they have ancillary characters that without them, without their love and support and everything, they wouldn't be the one, right? And I think
Right.
that's what the Oracle was trying to tell us in Matrix 1 and 2 is, yes, Neo, you have the potential to be the one, but without the people surrounding you, without the relationships you've built, without the feelings that you have for those people, you're never going to be the one, right?
And the reason that we both have so much knowledge about this is because we just rewatched it right before we went to go see.
Because you have to.
You really do.
You do. You do.
I watched all the Star Wars every time before we went and watched a new Star Wars. You know, I mean, that's just a thing you have to do. Like, that's a given. But also, I really do like the story arc until this last one. And this last one burned me. The third one was not super great. It was okay. There were some plot holes in it, and I was like, okay.
Well, there was an article written about this last one that it's supposed to be a trans story.
So I kind of saw a blip of that, but I didn't see the whole thing, and I think people are reaching if they think that that's what it's supposed. I don't know. Maybe it was supposed to be that, and I didn't get it because I'm not trans.
That went over my head then.
That went way over my head. I didn't get that story arc at all. I got girl power out of it, but I didn't get the whole trans story arc. So I don't know if that's true or not. Anyways, I hated it enough that I'm currently writing a fan fiction.
The fact that they're pretending to be something that they aren't because they're in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still feel like the coding is like reading who you would have been, right? It's like reading your synapses and things.
Yeah, because isn't she saying in the earlier film she wanted a family or something?
Yeah.
And then Neil Patrick Harris basically gives her one.
Gives her what she had wanted.
Yeah.
The if you've studied any kind of science, you know that people are pretty much who they are from birth. Yeah, there's that whole nature and nurture, and there's parts of you that are going to grow or expand or do more or less based on your environment, but you're pretty much who you are. I mean, we have 3 sons. Same DNA, right? Same 2 parents, very different children.
All 3 of them are
All
completely
3 of
different
them
from each other.
completely different people, and different people from their parents. Different ideas about the world, different wants, needs, different mental illnesses, different strengths, different weaknesses, different whatever, right? So I guess sometimes I look at movies too scientifically. So my understanding from The Matrix is whatever your synapses are firing, like when you're in there, that kind of, they build on that code and they build you into the Matrix, and the code builds on like what choices you would have made. It's like a build your own adventure story based on the adventure that's kind of in your head.
Right.
And the potential that you would have. I don't know. That was just what I thought. I'm probably reading too much into it. I tend
And then
to do
you
that
also-
sometimes for movies.
Right.
You also had a problem with, because what happened is the Matrix takes Neo's body and rebuilds it, and takes Trinity's body and rebuilds that too.
Well, the robots do, like in the robot city or whatever. The machines. They're not even robots at this point. They're just called the machines. The machines do in the machine city. And to me, that seems like if you're a machine and you're just looking out for resources, that's a pointless use of resources, when in the previous movies, they've said that there were other anomalies aside from Neo. Neo's not the first anomaly to have been able to show these powers. Now, whether Neo's been in the Matrix like over and over and over again throughout his lifetime,
Well, I
or
don't know
like
that
they
it's-
have a genetic clone of Neo and they just keep cloning Neo over and over and over.
I
like,
don't know that it's a different anomaly. It's the same anomaly, but it's just attached to different people.
See, and I never was quite sure, and I was hoping that was one of the things they were going to explain in 4. Like, maybe we were going to find out the machines only have a set amount of genetic material, and so it's the same people over and over and over again that they're putting in the Matrix, right? You know, the Neo in the bubble is a baby, goes through youth, goes through adulthood, whatever, does his anomaly thing, dies, okay? The people in his batch or whatever go through their lifetime, die. They get rid of that batch. Then they bring the genetic material back in. Neo's a baby. You know what I mean? And it starts again, but maybe he's not Thomas Anderson. Maybe he's, you know, Jiminy Cricket or something in the
kind
new
of cool
life.
thing
I don't know.
that I like is that the machines were working with the humans in this one.
That was kind of cool.
That was a cool aspect
So-
that I enjoyed.
I did like that, and I put that in my fan fiction because I can foresee that, especially if we've gone, because the machines can exist thousands of years perpetually, right? Eventually, everything that we've done to the Earth is going to right itself, right? The atmosphere is eventually going to clear up. The plants are going to come back. I mean, if they had any genetic material and did any research, the machines could put, you know, cyanobacteria back in the atmosphere if they needed to help generate more oxygen and create photosynthesis again. Like there's things that we could do to put the Earth back on track, right?
Right.
So
What was off for me though is one of the machines, or one of the pieces of code, was Morpheus / Agent Smith.
That was.
That bothered me a little bit. I was like, how are you going to combine that?
Combine them.
And then just like, oh, okay, well here's this character that's kind of both.
And what was the purpose of him being both?
Yeah.
Like, just let him be Morpheus.
Yeah.
Because and then we had Agent Smith a second time in the other character, who was Neo's boss, right? So there was a lot that I didn't like about that movie, and I really, really wanted to like it, because how can you not love Keanu Reeves? Like, he does such good work.
And I
most
felt
of the
bad because my kid got it for me for my
I know,
We
and
didn't
he's
know though.
Christmas. Yeah, we didn't know.
we didn't know, and he knew it was awful, bless his heart, and he was like, how'd you like it? And so of course
He tried.
we were like, oh, we liked it, and what we liked was the sentiment. We liked the
Yeah.
love and the fact that he remembered that from childhood, and it was something that was special to him, and so he wanted to continue it with us. So we loved that. Loved the movie. And again, I really loved some of the scenes with Keanu Reeves and Neil Patrick Harris.
And it's bad because I like everything.
Uh-huh.
I love like almost every movie, and then
does.
this one I just didn't.
I also didn't.
It
get
was
Smith.
okay. It was an okay movie,
I was able to sit through it. I didn't have to leave the
but I
theater.
didn't expect it to be okay. I expected it to be amazing, and maybe I shouldn't have.
Yeah. I feel like you've waited this long for something
should
to
have been
kind of wrap up.
Epic,
Yeah, and then it's not epic.
and it was not epic whatsoever.
People are not good at endings. Can I just put that out there? Like, because I'm a book reader. So I've read all of these different series, like the Maze Runner and the Divergent series and the Hunger Games. And let me tell you, every time the ending seems disappointing. Where we, as the reader, think the story's going, never goes there.
Do you wonder though, because you get the joke in the beginning how they're gonna make The Matrix with or without Keanu, basically throwing shade at Warner Brothers. Do you think maybe Wachowski wrote it just so it would flop, maybe, so they wouldn't keep going?
I don't know. I don't know if that was the
I
the
don't know,
goal,
why would
then
you
it
wanna
worked.
End on that note.
I don't know.
I wouldn't
because-
want to. I wouldn't want to end.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
But I just wonder why they threw that joke in there. It's kind of in your face joke.
Yeah. I don't know. I was disappointed,
I was too.
and it was a shame because we saw Spider-Man first.
Yeah.
Oh, you ended on the low
Yeah.
note. Oh.
We ended on the low
We
note.
ended on a low
I ended
note.
on the high note. I did it reverse. I've seen Spider-Man 3 times now, though.
I feel like we're destined to go again.
You need
Yeah.
to. You do.
We were gonna go again, and he was sick, so we didn't get to go again. But
Yeah.
that was the saving grace of the holiday. Was that
Mm-hmm.
movie?
Well, see, now you go back and you end on that high note now.
Yeah. So we're gonna stop talking about the Matrix because it was depressing, and we're gonna move on to Spider-Man because Spider-Man kicked butt.
So Spider-Man
It
No
was
Way
sad.
Home, that was kind of
Swans.
That was the epic movie of all epic movies. I mean, so many people in that theater cheered, shouted out loud, clapped, cried, like straight up noisy theater, and I didn't even mind because it was like I was right there with them.
yeah.
Tobey
It was-
Maguire comes out, and like everybody in the theater that's in their 40s was like, "Oh hell yeah, that's my Spider-Man, yeah!" Like we were all losing it, and we're like,
It was his Spider-Man too. That's his favorite.
Okay, so we know that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is part of the MCU now. So
And Andrew.
is Spider-Man
That's the funny meme that's going around is Tobey Maguire
is
saying,
part of the MCU now?
guess who's the
Well-
first hit movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
That it's not.
That it's not
Iron
Iron
Man
Man anymore.
anymore.
It's
Nope.
Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
And there's a joke in Spider-Man 2 that ties to the universe if you think about it, where they're trying to name Doc Ock, and J. Jonah's talking to his little assistant, and they're trying to give him a name, Doc Ock, and he says, "What about Doctor Strange?" He's like, "I love it, but it's taken." So it's like, oh wait, they just connected Doctor Strange by pure accident.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, now it's connected.
And yes,
So-
okay, in Spider-Man, there's like, you know,
Everybody.
you know, I mean, I've seen people pick it apart, and if you want to pick it apart, you can pick it apart. But why would you? It was so epic, and the
And we get to
chemistry
see
between the
freaking
three,
Daredevil.
the chemistry between the
Yes.
three Spider-Mans,
Mm-hmm.
like those three actors, their chemistry was spot on, like spot on. It was so perfect to see the three of them together and to see each of them as Spider-Man, as Peter Parker, like the pains that they went through and them like sharing it, and they're like, man, I have somebody to share stuff with now. It's like,
Well, I had read something really cool about what happened. So Charlie Cox was in this movie. So he
Yes.
played Matt
Murdock.
Murdock.
The Devils from Hell Kitchen.
everybody erupted when he was on the
Yes.
screen.
Yeah.
Oh, especially when he catches the brick.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
How'd you do that? I'm a really good lawyer. No, just say it, Daredevil. Say it.
So the thing is when the blip happened, that's when Daredevil was supposed to come into play. So that the entire show, because there aren't any superheroes at that time, are as many
Yeah.
because they're like cut by like half.
Oh, they're saying that's where
that's-
he was.
Because that's where he was, is in the blip.
Right.
No, makes sense. That makes sense. But we got to see him. I'm sorry, William Dafoe. He stepped out from early 2000s and still played the Goblin the same way.
He looks
He
exactly the same.
Is so good at being creepy and awful
Yes.
but then when he was like, I'm not sure who I am, and I'm just this nice old man who wants to be friends.
And then that
And you totally want to believe him, right? You're like, oh, okay, little old man, we'll be your friend.
Yeah.
Yes. He was so good. I was like, oh my god.
it's amazing, that little sense of yours. that voice switch. I'm like, oh, there's the Goblin.
Oh, there he goes.
Yeah, it was great. Just like bringing all this stuff from all the different Spider-Verses, it was awesome.
And
Alfred
I
Molina
really
was good.
like in the end that Tom Holland's Spider-Man has to take his lumps, right?
Mhm.
Like you feel for him, and
Yeah.
you cry for him. I mean, and you've already cried for him because he's already disintegrated and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
You've had enough crying for Tom Holland. But he brought this on himself, right?
He did.
He didn't think. He was acting like a teenager. He was acting, you know, impetuously. Doctor Strange should have reeled him in. Their chemistry was very funny. They had that MCU, like, you know, Thor and Hulk kind of humor going on, right? They did that really well. But at the end, where he doesn't get everything back, I kind of felt like that was a great way to go with it.
Yeah.
I was like, this is good. This is like comic book reality. I mean, is eventually he going to get everything back? Because that's what happened in comic books. Yes, of course. But for right now, so that he has to feel the pain of and the consequences of his actions, I thought that was good and I enjoyed it. So I really liked the way they did that. What did you think of that? Because some people were like, oh, they should have given him everything back and blah, blah, blah.
No, well, I think you see the different ways that the different Spider-Man failed, and that was his way of failing, and that was something that just needed to happen to make the story feel right.
Yeah, because I think people always want these superheroes to have no flaws, right? And to just be perfect. But that defeats the purpose of them being a superhero, right? Yeah, I mean, you have to have flaws. You have to have that humanity.
Because he didn't have the death of Uncle Ben.
Right.
He had to have the death of
May.
Aunt May.
May.
Talk about make me cry. That part made me cry. Cried like a big old baby. Just cried.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's in the comic books, like they call it the Parker luck. He's always has bad luck. That's his thing. So to lose everything is the ultimate bad luck to me.
Yeah.
I loved it, but I there's a lot of flaws. Like you said, people tear it apart because they hate themselves.
Right? Like, I
They hate
get it. There
themselves.
are flaws, but overall, it ties things together really nicely. It pays homage to the previous actors who got to play Spider-Man. It lets us see some of these villains that we haven't seen in a while, you know, and get the younger generations get to be introduced to them. I don't know. I just
that
really
one part,
enjoyed it.
like the one part that Andrew Garfield went back to be Spider-Man again, is because he goes in that part where he saves MJ.
Oh yeah.
Because he gets
That
that
was,
part
like, the
made me
most
cry my eyes out
powerful-
too.
I was like, oh my god, I feel so bad for it because you felt it.
Yeah.
He
He's a
emoted so
great
well
actor.
in that scene.
Yeah, are you okay?
I cried my eyes out. I cried so much during that film. That film was so good.
Did
So
you hear
good.
the "I love you" line was improvised by him? Where he tells them both, "I love you guys."
Oh, really?
That was just an improvised line. That's why they just say, like, they pause, like, thank you. They don't know what to say.
And I like that they had to learn how to work together because, like, the other two aren't really used to working with anybody. You know, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, he got to work with the Avengers. And then they're like, the Avengers, is that a band? Are you in a band?
That's so cool, guys.
That's so cool. I loved it when they were like finding things out, and I love that they all got to go be nerds and they all got to go be science nerds. Like, I love that we got that for all of them. There was so much that was good about this movie.
Yeah.
Like, just so much.
And all the Easter eggs that you see, with Venom. And,
He's like, don't talk to me about Venom. I hated it.
It
but
leaves
it
so many
depends
holes.
on which Spider-Verse you're in.
See, and that's the whole thing, because we know Morbius has a poster of Spider-Man in the background. Why doesn't Eddie know who Spider-Man is, though, if they're both supposed to be in the same universe? But it doesn't seem like they are, but the trailers comment that Venom's there, so I'm confused. No. She's all about Venom over there. That's what it throws me off, because I don't know how is it
But
all
Eddie
connected.
doesn't know who he is in that. Because Eddie is in a different verse than Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
So the theory is too that the Spider-Man in Morbius is actually Andrew Garfield. That's the running rumor.
Nice. But
Because-
I like
Because they
Topher.
show the murderer thing.
It says murderer, and Andrew
Yeah.
comments, after a while I stopped pulling my punches. And Spider-Man is super strong. If he hits a regular person, he's going to knock your head right off your shoulders. So the idea is that he's been killing criminals, possibly.
So we may, from what I hear, we should be seeing
We
Andrew
may see
Garfield
Andrew Garfield again.
in Morbius.
I would take Tobey
And-
Maguire. I love him. He's so cute.
Well, the other
I
rumor
think they
is-
were all great
They were all
Spider-Man.
super great. They were all super great. But there's something about Toby. He's just such a derp. Like when he's bad Spider-Man, because we just happened to be like sick. He's sick, so we're like watching a lot of TV and stuff. And we were up one night, and Spider-Man was on like cable. And so it's when when Tobey Maguire has the symbiote. And so then he does his hair like that, and he's doing that like walk and
thing.
everything. And he's such a derp. He's so dorky. Like they're even trying to make him look cool, and there's nothing they can do to make this poor man look cool.
Well, what's the other thing too? Like a lot of people say, Tobey Maguire was the perfect Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield was like the best Spider-Man himself. So it's cool that you see Andrew come out as Spider-Man in costume and Tobey come out in just plain clothes. It's like,
Plain clothes.
oh yeah, it's like Peter and Spidey. Okay.
Yeah.
I did like the way Spider-Man beats Doctor Strange is with math. It's all it was. I was like,
yes.
he just beat him with geometry.
That was
Okay.
a teacher's best moment
That's
in
why I thought you
film
would like it.
history ever. I was like, yeah,
See, geometry
use
helps
math,
you.
use math.
I was laughing so hard at that. My friend Robert that I do the other show with, he was like, only Spider-Man could just beat a magician with math.
Right?
Only Spider-Man could do this.
But that's what you love to see, right? They stayed true to who he was, right? That's
Yeah.
what he would have done.
Because he's just highly intelligent. So
Yep.
it's like, he doesn't know magic, but he knows math.
But he knows math. And then I kind of thought it was like cute that his friend was like, you know, my abuela says that we've got magic, and then he starts using the magic. He's like, ooh, yeah.
Go see your physician.
So why do you think it was so easy for him to use magic when it was so hard for Doctor Strange?
I think some of it
To
is
learn the
because
magic.
he's a kid. Some of it I think is because of his culture and because of his abuela, and I think he believes, right? It was so hard for Steven to use magic and become Doctor Strange because he couldn't believe.
Right.
He was very scientifically minded. Where the kid's like, shoot, yeah, I believe, and that's some awesome stuff, you know? And since it's just there for you to harness if you believe and you can and you practice, he was like, well, I'll practice. And so he probably had some connection to it. Maybe he did have like a bruja in the background or something. I don't know. So yeah. I just thought it was cute all around. I just thought it was a really, really good movie.
So why do you think it was so easy for Andrew Garfield to unmask himself when he met them?
I think he knew. Like, Toby's Peter kind of knew something. I think Andrew knew too. He just was kind of like, I don't know. Like, but he respected them too. He was like, you're a very untrusting person. I get that. But when Toby comes in, he's like, that's not your Peter. But he kind of knew that they were friends of his. So maybe they rely on that spider sense a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe he thought that.
got
Although it doesn't work
something.
on bread. That's all I say.
They were talking about a lot of stuff that was happening, like before it ever came out, is when they were showing in the trailers to where it's Spider-Man and he was attached by when he's going like fighting Doctor Strange, and he throws a web out and he's Doctor Strange is throwing everything, and he catches himself, but we don't see who's doing that, so people assume that, oh, that's where the other Spider-Mans are going to come into play, that somebody was doing it. But that was like, they took us on a complete different tangent. I was like, that's cool.
That was one of the things I enjoyed about this movie too, was that the trailers didn't give away so much of the movie that I felt like I had seen the movie before I got to the movie. Like, did I know that the other Spider-Man were going to be there? Excuse me. Yes. Did I know that it was going to be like a multiverse kind of thing? Yes.
Well, I had wondered if Andrew Garfield was going to be in there, because I knew Toby was going to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
But Andrew Garfield was a little bit different because Sony was pissed off at him for the longest time.
Really?
That's why they didn't do 3.
I thought they did because 2 sucks so much.
You hate everything.
He was supposed to go. Andrew Garfield was supposed to meet with Sony executives, and he didn't go. And that's when they decided, well, we're not going to use him anymore.
I'm gonna look that up now. That's curious.
Curiouser and curiouser. Yeah, I didn't know that.
But if they open this up and then start using the other Spider-Man, that would be awesome.
Oh yeah. I mean, at least he finally got a 3. He was Peter number 3.
Yeah.
So where do you think? You think they're gonna do a few more with Tom Holland as Spider-Man since this one did so well?
Didn't they already say that he's in talks for 4 already? I did like that suit though. It was like almost comic book accurate looking.
Yeah, it was good.
That was a beautiful suit.
I agree. But then where do they go with Tony being gone?
I was wondering. I was like, "Where's the nano suit? Like, he would still have that, wouldn't he? Because he left with it."
Yeah, you would think. I mean, I guess we're gonna get some stuff from Pym. They kind of give us the hint in Hawkeye that we're gonna be getting stuff from Pym Industries.
The owl. Sorry. Don't have to worry about that now.
Don't have to worry about that now. That was one of my favorite parts.
Yes.
We'll ruin Hawkeye for you next week. So yeah, I'm curious to see, because if Robert Downey's not going to do Iron Man anymore, and if we're not going to have any more of like Captain America and Thor.
Do we know that? I mean,
that's what he said for now. But sometimes you throw any amount of money in front of people, and they may change their minds.
Daniel Craig.
Yeah. So maybe.
And if it's a good script, because if you look through it, is Tony always learns from when he fails. Like, it doesn't happen the same way again.
Yeah.
So at that point, would he have been protected from the snap?
I don't know. I feel like they killed him
because he
time.
wanted to stop.
Yeah.
And then Pepper just told him, "Hey, it's okay. You can stop now." And then he died. And he supposedly dies, but he didn't. He wanted to stop. He didn't want to do it anymore.
So maybe he's not dead, but he's at home being dad or whatever, and he's just staying in the background and building tech or whatever.
I mean, we technically don't know where Steve is still. Even after Falcon Winter Soldier, they just comment about him, but they never say he's dead or alive. I don't know.
Well, but he's old. I mean, he went back to his original timeline and got to live his life,
Isn't there a comic storyline where Steve does age, but they somehow reverse it later on anyway?
I mean, that's the thing about comics, right? You can always, like...
I built this machine, and now...
I built this machine, and everybody's better.
Well, like they did with Ant-Man. When they were using the Pym particles.
Yeah.
They brought him back as younger.
Yeah. They could do something like that to him. They Hulk kind of knows what to do.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I'm wondering if, they've kind of felt like they've, finished those storylines with those characters, and they're trying to find some other characters, maybe some lesser known ones. I think now would be the time to do that kind of thing, because now that the comics have become more mainstream, people don't mind you bringing in characters that maybe they've never heard of. It doesn't have to be
Shang-Chi.
Somebody, right? It doesn't have to be somebody that from, okay, I see them on the cover all the time. I see Iron Man on the cover all the time. I see the Hulk on the cover all the time. I see Spider-Man on the cover. Maybe it can be one of these that's like lesser known. I mean, more like, look at Morbius. Like, who the heck aside from our youngest son Nicholas knows about Morbius? I mean, that child like collects everything Morbius, but if it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't have even known.
No, that would have just come out, and I would just, oh, well, that's cool.
Right, it's cool, but I would not have been. I would never have like read any of the comics or anything if it hadn't
Like,
been
I
for our
didn't read
youngest
any
son.
of the Fantastic Four comics.
Yeah, just what
Not
was
at
in the
all.
Sunday paper was all I ever read because it used to be in the Sunday paper along with Spider-Man. So I've read some that way, and I think I had a few when we were kids, but like because my dad was always picking up comics to do like my dad was an artist, and so he would always pick up different comics so that he could like look at the drawing styles and do some different drawings and stuff of the different characters to practice the different drawing styles. So there was always comics in my house of something, but it was never like we collected them, so I never had like a full story arc of anything. Like I was like, I remember a story arc of like Wolverine and Jubilee, but we had a few of those.
Never know what happened.
I don't know what happened.
So those are 2 movies we saw. If you have some comments or anything, please leave them down in the comment section.
Please keep them to yourself because we don't want to hear what you have to say. No, I'm just kidding.
And we'll discuss them and see what you thought.
You
We
can
disliked
comment.
one, or you may have liked The Matrix.
Then no one likes you now.
We're like
That nobody
crickets.
liked.
Nobody stood up for the Matrix.
I've actually seen some stuff on Facebook that some people actually really liked The Matrix.
Oh, because people like contrived BS girl power stuff in your face because they think it's empowering women, which it's not. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Nostalgia.
I'm gonna be quiet. I'll be quiet now.
No, some people like it for the nostalgia part just because they saw it before, and that's what I thought I
That's
was
what you
going
were
to rent it,
hoping?
hoping for, and that didn't happen. But let us know in the comments. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and click on that notification bell. The next time we go live, you'll know. I'm Vince.
Oh, we're done. Okay, I'm Colleen and that's Aaron. Vince doesn't know how to end the show. That was a terrible segue. Geek,
You gotta
say.